Hi, my name is Titash Niyogi. I am CTO and co-founder at Factor Daily. And today I'm going to show you how to convert a great product idea into an awesome product using design-led product engineering. So you start with a kick-ass idea, and the first thing you have to do about that is to think about the design of the product. And what that basically means is why will someone use your product and how does it change their lives? That's the first step in design thinking that you need to figure out about your product. When you figure the question to this answer to this core question, you need to get your engineering chops in place, and the main answer at that stage is, do I really need to build something like this, or can this be an aggregation of existing services? There are plenty of APIs and existing products that can be combined together to build something really great from an idea point of view, and you probably need your technology person to figure that out even before you start writing a single line of code. Once you've convinced yourself and your team that you really need to write code for this, you need to figure out the UX. And the key answer at this point, or the key focus, is what are the behavioral changes that your users need to make to start using the product. And essentially, the key word here is behavior, because ultimately everything that we build is for people, and what we're trying to do is modify an existing state of behavior and make them do something differently. And you need to figure out what is the best interaction model. Is it going to be mobile? Is it going to be touch or voice or text? There's a whole bunch of different questions that are design led that need to be thought at this stage, even before you really know what the product engineering would entail. And this is where the user experience comes. This is the kind of user experience that you want to give to your product. When you figure this out, it's time to figure out the overall architecture for your product, and that what that means at this stage is what are the back-end and front-end choices that I'm going to make to implement this behavioral change. And that involves whether you want to have your own backend or not, whether you're going to plug into different APIs, whether it's going to be what kind of mobile stack you're going to use, and a whole bunch of things like that. The next step after UX is really to start digging into the more specifics of what your UI would look like, and this includes choices of type, color, and the interfaces. And what you're trying to derive at this stage is that once you've determined the behavioral changes that you need to bring about in your users, what is the best way in that these can be brought about in terms of in engaging with users psychologically through font choices, color choices, and interface choices. And this, at this point, then influences the kind of front end that you will write and the kind of back end that you will choose. And essentially what this means is that you don't write a single line of code until you have figured all of this out. And at this each of these stages, it's the design process that is really driving the engineering process. The main thing to realize here is that up until this stage, you have not written a single line of code, and everything that has happened on the engineering side is primarily being influenced heavily by behavioral and psychological design decisions that you've made about your users. When you start writing your code, you need to choose what kind of a set of technologies that you're going to use for both your HTML, JavaScript, or your mobile front end. And my recommendation these days is to use APIs or backend as a service, so that at the first MVP stage of your product, you don't really have to worry about too much of a backend, because at the end of the day, your users are really going to interact with the front end and the system. And if it is designed well on the front end, you can today afford to use a lot of technologies that exist, which allow you to have a no backend or a backend as a service. And this finally translates into an awesome product. This is a very high level flow, but if you really think deep, this is really the key differentiator between building something and trying to retrofit UX into it versus first doing UX design and then building the code. And I strongly recommend everybody out there who's starting off with a new product to use this as a sort of a design flow. Thank you.